Hi, I'm Jen Gumbel from Wagner Oehler with offices in Rochester, Red Wing, and St. Charles. And you may have heard quite a bit about the Biden tax plan and wondered whether or not it affects your own estate plan. Now, the Biden tax plan involves the federal estate tax. Keep in mind, the federal government taxes estates, but it gives exemptions to each estate. And right now, the exemption is over $11 million. The state of Minnesota has its own estate tax, and the exemption is, for most people, $3 million. The Minnesota estate tax is the one that affects more people. The Biden changes affect only the federal estate tax. Now, there's two issues that we're monitoring really closely. The first is whether or not that federal exemption will change. Now, Bernie Sanders suggested a federal estate tax exemption of $3.5 million. That means even in the worst case scenario, if you don't have an estate tax problem with the state of Minnesota, you still wouldn't have one with the federal government. And as conversations in DC have gone on, that change in the exemption, well, that's been dropped. But keep in mind that in 2025, the exemption is scheduled to sunset. That means it's going to go back to what it used to be. And that was a little bit north of $5 million. Another issue we're monitoring closely is basis. Basis is what we use to calculate income tax when you sell a capital asset. What does all of that mean? Well, a capital asset are assets like real estate or stock. When you go to sell them, you don't have to claim, or you don't have to report as income the entire amount of the purchase price. Your income is the sales price minus what the basis is. In essence, what it took for you to get the property. Now, when someone gives you property, you also get their basis. However, if you get it because they passed away, you get a stepped up basis. That's the value at the date of death. So let me walk you through this. If your parents give you their house during their lifetime, your basis will be the purchase price that they paid when they bought the house. That could have been decades ago. And the fair market value now could be vastly different. That means you would pay income tax on that difference, which is probably pretty great. But if you wait and receive the home at their death, the basis is the fair market value at the date of death. If you turn around and sell it shortly thereafter, the basis is very close to the sales price, and the difference, what you would report in income, is very low. Stepped up basis is really important for people whose wealth is in capital assets, particularly farmers, because much of their wealth is their land. The federal government is starting to talk about getting rid of the stepped up basis. If this happens, that could greatly change estate planning. It could also change medical assistance planning. Making transfers came with the drawback of passing along your low basis. That could change. In any event, if your wealth is in capital assets, stocks, or real estate, you should be monitoring this closely. Now, when a change happens, let us know. Call up and have your estate plan reviewed. We'll let you know if the changes affect you and if there's anything new that you need to do so that your plan can minimize estate taxes as much as possible. Now, if you haven't had your estate plan reviewed in a while, you should come in. Even if you haven't had anything change in your situation, because the law can change. In some cases, the law actually gives us better options than we had before, or makes things easier than it did. And we want to make sure your plan continues to leave as manageable of a to-do list for your loved ones as possible. It may be that your plan continues to do that, or we need to do some adjustments so that it can happen that way. If you want to get your estate plan reviewed, schedule an appointment today.